Hello, 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 hello. I was gonna wait a bit longer, but I decided against it. Cause screw it. I wanted to start early. How's everybody doing? How's everybody feeling today? I am pretty good, pretty good. I think I might be starting a some form of cold might be coming. I've sneezed a couple more. I've started sneezing, which I don't normally do. I've got my voice feels like it's slightly changed. I've got genuinely a weaker feel going, but I'm not 100% sure on this, so I could be wrong. Anyway, I haven't really planned much when it comes to this. I think my general plan is to just sort of go over what we did last year in my channel. If I scroll down to like what the start of this year was, and then sort of just go through what we did. Yeah, okay. So the exact year break point is around here. Okay, okay. This will be good. This will actually be really good. Oh, that being there is actually huge. Okay. Let me just cut off a couple bits that I probably don't want you seeing. That looks good. Maybe like that. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, let me switch over to it. Boop ba doo ba doo boop ba doo boop ba doo boop boop. Actually, before I do this, where's my black box? Boom. I need to check this and make sure I'm on streamer mode, just so that I don't get random things. Boop. I don't want people who don't want stuff shown on their screen to be shown on the screen. Okay, so this here, where is it? This sort of here, this bit here is the start of this year. So let's sort of just go through. My thinking is this is what we'll do for it. It'll be split into 3 parts. One, going over the things we played last this year. 2, going over what things I think I've learned from last year to this year. And 3, what I think I'm going to be doing in the future. Right, let's start off with this. We started off, first one was us actually starting Dawntrail. Now, Dawntrail was very interesting, because I'm not... I have learned very quickly that I am one of those people that people will be like, "Oh no, this isn't great," blah 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 blah, and I've just been like, "I think it's fine." You know, I think it's. Do I think it's like the next big thing? No, I had fun listening to it. Like for example, Dragon Age Inquisition. It got middling reviews. People really didn't like it. I went into it completely blind, and I liked it. I have no complaints about it. No complaints at all about it. Um, I went into it not expecting much. I got a decent story. So I just sort of I left it going, this is cool, but I'll never come back to it, but it's cool. And so I went into Dawntrail with a very similar mindset, and I loved it. Especially exploring the city. So this earlier bit where the story hadn't gotten as big, I was like, this is perfect. This is great. I love it. But I do realise now it's cutting off there. What can you do? Um, Then we go on to, we were still playing through Baldur's Gate 3. I think we were getting near to the end of Baldur's Gate 3, in fairness. I think generally Baldur's Gate 3 is still my favorite game of, maybe my favorite RPG ever. It's definitely up there. If not, it's definitely top 5, if not best ever. So I would generally say that it's great. Hold on a second, let me get paint up actually. Paint's a good idea past me. Just have that as a side thing. Mainly because I don't have Word to write stuff down. But yeah, I loved it. I loved it so many times. I just can't get into this mindset of that people have though. Of I'm very bad at replaying games. I just don't find it that interesting. So I'll play a game once. I'll get like a story that I like, and then if I'm interested in the other parts of the story, I'll watch somebody else's video on it. And maybe it's a mindset of people that haven't had to play a game to death when they were young. I'm not exactly well off. Well, I wasn't when I was young, especially. It's gotten better over time, but it was really bad when I was young. But I guess I was just of the kind of thing of like, I play it once, and then I'd sort of just do something else, you know? You wouldn't expect it when you look at me, but when I was young, as a lot of people I think were, I was a lot more active. And so what it would be is like, say I was playing a Pokemon game. I'd play the Pokemon game, I'd finish the Pokemon game, and go, cool, time to go out play, you know? Or a lot into the middle sort of part of my life, when I still wasn't really playing games that much, it would be play a game, I finish the game, I'm now going to go just watch some YouTube videos of somebody else playing a game. You know, a lot of my early life was that. And so I can't get into going back on track, I can't really get into the mindset of the replayability part of Baldur's Gate 3. Because I know there is a lot of stuff in there, but the general overarching plot's the same. And so I just don't see the interest in it. This was also when I was trying out the first Pathfinder thing that I'd ever done. I've got mixed feelings on Pathfinder. I still think that one of my biggest problems as a person that comes from D&D is, I think one of my most annoying parts of D&D is if you try and play a martial class, like a full martial class. So I'm thinking barbarian, fighter, rogue. I don't even really consider monk to be in that level either, but potentially monk. You just hit this point where it's like, I'm sure if I'm a better player and like I'm able to describe all my attacks, it's different, but like basic attack, basic attack, basic attack. And that's just it over and over again. And I just don't find that interesting. I don't find that interesting at all. And so they don't really solve that problem, in my opinion. Now, it could have been how I played it. I didn't play a ton of it. I do regret not trying out some of the weirder classes that I really think they've done well in doing in Pathfinder. For example, I love Circle of the Moon Druid in D&D. And the reason I love it, it's not because I get access to the spells of a druid. It's the fact that I get to turn into a bunch of animals and fight people as animals. Now, from what I can gather, there is a class in Pathfinder that is specifically, I turn into an animal or multiple animals and I fight. And they take out the magic part of it, or at least like the most of the magic part of it. And so I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to try that out. But generally, I can't really complain, because when it comes to trying out systems, because of the fact that I don't DM myself, like at the end of the day, like it's this weird dichotomy of like, you're at the whims of what the DM wants to do, but you're also at the whims of what the player wants to do, because if you don't have the players, then the DM can't DM, but if the DM doesn't want to DM the thing, then the players don't have a world to go into. But generally, I kind of will play anything. And if somebody's not feeling Pathfinder, which the person who was DMing us wasn't really feeling it, then that's fine. We won't do Pathfinder. It's an interesting world, sort of. I don't know what you'd call it. Like, it's an interesting group of people that I play my games with, because we have a quite varied preferences. So we've got one person who's very, very into the lower fantasy stuff and quite. I use the word depressing because I don't have a better word for depressing, but like quite dark, like quite. There's a lot of loss. There's a lot of that kind of stuff in his games, and it's weird because when I then compare that to what I think, we're absolutely diametrically opposed in terms of levels of magic. I love the higher fantasy stuff. You know, not to the levels of like everybody can freaking control time, but to the levels of like, um, at least the players have access to magic quite frequently, kind of thing. So we're diametrically opposed there. But I don't think we're that opposed when it comes to the depressing loss bit. Because I'm not a huge fan of the depressing part of it, but the loss I really like. I like the idea of, oh, the hero doesn't always win, and there's setbacks, and they can't take care of it all of them on their own, and they have to, figure out stuff, get allies that can help them, maybe make sacrifices. So it's interesting there. And then I have another person who occasionally DMs, who I think is very into they like the dark, they like the dreary, they like the gory, I guess is the one of the words. Like, your 40k, that kind of stuff. And they really like going into that kind of stuff. And I think there's a fair amount of overlap there. With me, because I quite like that stuff, but I think the bit that is different between me and them is I'm always looking at the light in the darkness. So like the world is depressing, here's like the beacon of hope. It's interesting. It's very, very interesting. Obviously, here's more Disfigure. I think Disfigure's been a staple of most of last year and all of this year. I love Disfigure. It's just a game I always go back to whenever an update's done. And generally, I've never found it to be bad. I've not liked the weapons, obviously, but the game itself is just such a interesting and cool game. I cannot complain about it. We got a bit into the MTG drafting, I think early last year, late last year to early this year. Generally, what happened was that when I decided to I was still planning on doing more drafting, and then there was one point where it asked me to log in, and I kind of just saw that as like, look, if I can't even be figured out, can't even be, don't even care enough to actually look to see what my login is, then maybe it's a situation where I don't want to play it anymore, and so I just stopped playing, and I haven't really gone back for it, you know. It was fun, but I just always felt like I was being beaten down even by the easiest opponents. We did a bit of Marvel Rivals. I don't mind Marvel Rivals. I think generally Marvel Rivals is a really fun game. I just have this problem with it where I feel like every time I play it, the first time I go back, it's like it's great. I'm having so much fun. It's great. It's the best ever. I can't wait to play loads more of this. The second time I play it, is when the problems start happening, where it's like the frame rate doesn't work very well, and I have no idea how to solve it, and I look it up, and people are just like, "Oh, this is the problem that everybody has, and you can't deal with it," and then I just go, "Oh, well, I guess it's a game that I'd love to play, but I can't." It's a real shame, real shame. Oh, I loved doing this. The favorite Pokemon for each type and each generation. This was such a cool thing to have, and generally, I do wonder if my opinion on this has changed much. I don't think my top level has changed much. Like, it's still the Bulbasaurs, the Venusaurs, it's still the grass sort of side of it, because I do think the grass starters are, like, generally my jam when it comes to stuff. Although I've been playing a lot of fan games specifically this year. And I will say that some of the fan games have made me appreciate the other kinds of starters, the fire and the water ones, a decent bit more, because I've given myself a bit more of a leeway of like, hey, let's not always go for the grass starter. You know, let's also try out the other starters because it's a fan game. It's whatever, you know? And it has made me appreciate them more, and it has made me realize that grass inherently is a pretty weak type. I love it. I love loads of grass Pokemon, but if you also then combine it with a type that generally has a lot of weaknesses, it makes a type that is genuinely unfun to play with. And so, as much as I love the look of it, if you choose grass and bug and you combine them, you've made a Pokemon that is horrendous in most situations. I'm sorry. Not only does it get a couple of double weaknesses, it's just generally really weak. It's a shame. We played a bit of Vampire Survivor. That game's interesting. It's like the hallmark of the Survivor-like genre that then has grown into, into an actual genre. But I genuinely don't think of it as like being the highest quality one. Like in my head, the one that is the highest quality is Disfigure. But some of the other ones, like that I've played, like what's it called, like 30 Minutes to Die or something. Like all of those ones have been really good, and then the Vampire Survivor one, it always kind of feels like maybe a bit overwhelming, but generally just like I feel like there's so much stuff there that I just don't know what you're supposed to do. By the way, I still haven't forgotten the fact that this guy, the dude here in this picture, um, this one here, he does nothing. You never see him. Maybe it's a side quest. Maybe it's a thing that comes in the patch quests. He is shown in the coronation of Wooklamat, and you never see him again. You never see this guy again. And I think they mentioned that the tribe that you go see, the definitely not Native American analogy in the Wild West area, mentioned that he had a brother, and it's probably this guy because he's wearing a similar stuff to them. But they never bring it up again. I don't understand it. I really, it's so weird. But then again, I thought that about the group that worked to make the princess, the scientists, and then they showed them as like the first thing in the patch quest as being a villain. So, well, one of them was. So maybe that's what I'm missing. Played a bit of the Bazaar. That game's interesting. As soon as it came to Steam, I thought I'd play it more. I actually started playing it less. I don't know what to say. I guess maybe the fact that it was a what's the word? I had to pay any money for it, even though it's a really good game. Maybe just put me off of it. I don't know. It also could be because the person I was watching that was playing it was called, I think he's called Raven. I sorry if I got the name wrong. He just sort of stopped playing it on generally, and maybe that just put me off actually trying it out. Because I think my thing was I would see builds that he would do. I would go, oh, that's a cool build. and then I would try and get that build, effectively force that build in the game, and I guess that maybe stopped. This was a good bullet hell as well. Bullet Heaven, Rogue. I want to say Gensia. Really, really fun game. Just it does a good thing of making you, and this is a thing that I think a lot of Bullet Heaven games have to get into their games so that you feel like you, what's the word? You feel like there's like you're always achieving something, and you want that loop of, like, you know how in World of Warcraft or MMOs in general, it's like you do a quest, it's like bum, you've got to level up, put it in this point. Oh look, you're doing stuff. Like that kind of feel of I always feel like I'm doing stuff is something that I think all of these games need to get into their games, because the ones that don't have that, you just play every weapon once, maybe twice, and then you're like, cool, I'm done. There's nothing else here, you know? And I think he did a good job of doing that with all the challenges and unlocking all of the different weapons. Hearthstone Battlegrounds, another one of their staples I occasionally go back to every season. Haven't done one for this season, actually, that just started. It's a good season, though. They did a very simple change to the demon one, which I really liked, because they tried an idea with the demon subtype last season that made me hate the demon subtype, because they took away the whole aspect of, like, there used to be this 1-star character that you put down, and it's like every time you play a demon, it does 1 damage to you and it buffs this guy. And it used to be you took that guy, then you took a guy who made it so all the damage that you dealt to yourself didn't actually deal to yourself, and instead gave this dude a health. And then you just started buffing them by putting loads of demons down, you know? And they tried to lean away from that aspect of it last season, and it just didn't work, in my opinion. And so they brought the guy back, but they made him himself a demon, which meant that you could also buff him with all the things that buff demons. And then they added some new units that were really, really fun. Like, if you survive an attack, buff everybody kind of thing. It's really, really great. I love it. More MTG drafts, more Disfigure. Literally just anytime there's a new update, I'd give it at least one go. And then this is Expedition 33. Now, a lot of controversy has come out with Expedition 33 recently that generally, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to leave it at this. It seems like all they were assets that were immediately taken out in the first patch. I'm fine with that. I love Expedition 33. That's not going to change. I think that people consider AI to be such a scary issue that they are just, in a way, overreacting with that kind of stuff. Oh, I accidentally did that twice, but hey, that one got two views, so it must have done something differently. Anyway, Expedition 33. Loved this game. I'm so glad I played this game. I was so scared, as I am with a lot of games that go away from the norm of what I like, which is turn-based simple combat. I'm always worried that I'm going to be bogged down with a simple enemy and I just will not have any fun. And because I'm doing it on stream, I'll be sort of like, not forced, but kind of forced, because I like to play it as if people are watching, even when they're not. To my dismerit, we'll get into that a bit when we get onto what I've learned over this year. And I went into it, and the game was insane. This game, I genuinely loved every part of it. It was a real blast from the past of like old style RPGs, but with new paint to them, and the art style. I I loved it. I loved every second of it. It was such a incredible game. The story was great. I got so into Gustav. Gustav was great. I started. I have this weird thing that's I think being more prominent this year, where a tiny thing that a character will do will make me hate the character, and that never will go away because I'm quite a stubborn guy, and so it sticks. And so I really didn't like Verso the whole time. But generally, I think Verso is a good guy and a good character, and I do think his ending is the right ending. Um, but yeah, the story. I mean, there's nothing that I can say that people haven't already talked about, and more interesting, like and more like a comprehensive way. Um, Atomic Crops. Atomic Crops was okay. I just found myself having a hard time winning any time, not making much progress, and I think I'm at that point in my life where my brain's kind of reverted a bit to like what a baby is, in the sense of if I don't get that constant feel of like I'm progressing, I'm making progress, I'm doing stuff, like something's progressing, whether it's a story, whether it's my level, whether it's, unlocking new things. If I don't get that fairly regularly, I'm less likely to play the game. Especially if I'm in one of these moods that I've been getting a lot recently, but I always seem to have them as well, where I have days where I'll wake up and I'll just feel scatterbrained. I'll just feel like I don't want to use the word ADHD because I don't like people just like coming up with diagnoses of like what stuff is without having a medical background, but that kind of feel of like it happens a lot when I'm watching videos where I'll be watching a video, I'll be like 20 minutes into the video of like an hour long video, and I'll just go, "Well, I'm not into this," and I'll skip to another one, and then I'll be like, I'm not into this, and I'll skip to another one. And then occasionally videos that normally I would love to watch become like an obligation where I'm like, I have to watch this. It's weird. It's very, very weird. Monster Train 2, another staple of at least my out of stream stuff, because Monster Train 2 has become my new thing, because what I do is I just go into it, choose a build, which is the same build I always choose, and just play it over with and over 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 again, and just continually do that until I decide I'm done. That's literally it. And I feel kind of bad that I haven't gone back to this, because this is when I was unlocking all the characters, and so I would try out the combinations. I would try them out and see if they were any good. And I didn't mind that I didn't make it that far, but with a combination, because I just play a different combination. And so I might try doing that at some point soon, of just trying to go back to maybe trying to find if there's like either a random button on the game or a program that can do the random like tribes and stuff, and just trying them out, forcing myself to try stuff new. Survivor of the Dawn, I bought a Humble Bundle that gave me a load of Survivor games, and around this time, and you can notice, this game was okay. A game that I would never buy myself, but if it's in a group, I'm going to play it for maybe, I think I played it for like 6 or 7 hours, but bearing in mind that it was the equivalent of like £2, because I bought it in a bundle that was like 15 quid for like 7 games. It's perfectly fine. Guild Wars is when I started my Guild Wars thing that I'm still on now. Um, I have been having so much fun with Guild Wars. Not only are the people that come into the stream generally just very, very nice, which I have found in every game that wasn't FF14 that I've played that's been an MMO. But generally, like, the combat's fun. It keeps me entertained. The story's fine. It's getting a lot better in the living worlds at the moment. I think I vastly prefer the group of people that we have in the living worlds things that you've come across. Rox, Tamia, those kinds of people, Casimir. They feel like they are much more characters than Trahan was ever. I think our commander that you had as a vigil was pretty good though. Hold on a second. But I understand why they got rid of him, because not everyone went vigil. It's the problem with branching decisions that I think many games, especially Telltale games, have. But I've just been having a ton of fun with it. Surprised I was doing arena there. I guess I was just trying it out. That's fair. This one was good. Pokemon Odyssey is my favorite Pokemon fan game I've played this year. It might be my favorite Pokemon fan game ever. It's just really, really fun. Cannot complain about anything that happened in that. Genuinely, if you are into Pokemon in any capacity, but you've always sort of just stuck to the base games, give the fan games a try. Not only are they games that, like, you can download in literally a second because they're not at the insane amounts of gigabytes that some modern games are nowadays, they also just are really, really good quality games because they just generally any kind of thing that you've thought about in Pokemon where you've been like, God, I wish they had this in this game. I wish they had this in this game. Like the people who make these fan games are like-minded people. They may not have thought of everything, but there'll be like one or two features where you're like, oh God, I wish this was in the base game. And then you get to see cool regional variants, which I really like people doing. You get to see cool Fakemon, which are kind of hit and miss, but most of the time they're hits. And it's just that you can play a load of them. It's great. And then look at that, Verso's #1 hater. Yeah, I'm not a Verso fan. But yeah, generally, give Pokemon Odyssey a try. It's really fun. Which is this? Oh yes. Oh, that's the mech game I played. What was it? Was it Machina? Something Machina? It's a really good game. I really, really liked it. I'd considered trying the second one, but the problem with that one is they've gone from mechs to like open world. I don't know, like power suits, for lack of a better word. And so it looked really, really cool. And I think I'd buy that game if it was not at the level of AAA prices of like the 60 quid mark. If the game was maybe like 20 quid or maybe like 30, I would probably give it a shot. So I probably will pick up that game. When I think back on this or the previous game, I just look on the Steam library and I see that and I go, oh yeah, how did the second one do? I will probably then look on it and see if there's a sale. And if the sale brings it to a reasonable level, I probably will then buy it. So honestly, check back in a year after like this stream, and probably I'll be like, oh yeah, and probably will then buy it if I haven't already bought it. Play more of it that. Oh, here's me learning about Cosmere. So my friend wanted to do a Cosmere campaign because he's really into I was about to say Brennan Lee Mulligan, but no, it's Brandon Sanderson books. And so this was my genuine attempt at learning the lore. I'm still not great at the lore, I'll be honest. It very much feels like I am the lowest rung of the group. But it's really fun to really fun to play in because I think the biggest part of it is that when you know that the DM is really, really into the world, you know that they're gonna put they are having as much fun as you, and you can definitely feel it in that game. I'm like hit or miss on the actual world and the story and like there's some parts of the story I like. There's some parts of the story I could take it or leave. Like it's got that. It's sadly got this problem where with the character I've made, and maybe this is a problem with me, but I don't care about the main story beat. Like we've been given this package, we got to take this package that was like the dying wish of this guy to this place and deliver it. But my character is a parshman who just got their sentience and was effectively a slave to this guy. So I don't care about this guy in any capacity. In fact, inherently, I don't like the guy. And then the dude also had like a spirit with him, and I don't like that spirit either. Not, and I don't even think that one's too out of nowhere. He just doesn't talk to you in a way that's like nice. And I genuinely think that if you talk to me and you're not being nice, that's like a huge negative to me of me liking you. So it's a weird situation. Oh, here's where the Disfigure had this big update that actually made the bosses more complicated, which I think is it's made it harder for me to win. But genuinely, I think it's a good idea. And I mean, I've loved it. I've loved it since. I don't think it's a. I don't think it's a perfect solution. I think I toned down how many people can do these little things on the floor to maybe like bosses and occasional enemies, because it very much feels like at the end of it that everything has that. And so if you don't kill stuff constantly, you can have a problem. This was when I started Pillars of Eternity. Pillars of Eternity has been a roller coaster of a game. There have been very, very high highs where I've been like, I've got to go back to this game. I can't wait to see what happens here, here, and here. And there's been low lows where I've been like, damn, I have to force myself to go back to this game. And there has been the most times out of any game where I have felt like I do not know where to go. I do not know what to do. I am just playing by the seat of my pants. It's quite obvious there's things I'm missing. That kind of stuff. There's been so many times where that kind of thing has happened for me. Nine Kings, really, really good game. One of those games where I'm glad it was on the Game Pass, because I don't know if I'd spend full price on this game, because I played every king once. I then played the king I liked a couple more times, and then I was done with it. That's it. And maybe it's had an update since then that makes it a more well-rounded game, but that was the end of it. Voidbreaker. Right, this is a game that I believe I saw on a Yogscast stream, and it was like a free thing. And oh shit, I've played Pokemon Empire there. No wonder I didn't like that game when I went back to it. It's too hard. It's not that I don't like it. It's the game's too hard. It's not that's the problem with Pokemon games. A lot of them are also difficult scaling and difficulty scaling. And if you're like me, you don't know how to do that kind of stuff. But back to Voidbreaker. Voidbreaker was a really good game. Not my kind of normal game to go into, but I really liked it. Bit of like a first person roguelike shooter kind of thing, but using like the physics of the world a bit more than I've seen a lot of games do, like a lot of breakable stuff in the world. I think it's one of those games that I could see myself getting really into if I just forced myself to play for a couple hours, but it's getting over that hurdle of the learning the controls, and then as soon as I got over that, I think I'd be fine. This is when you're going to see a lot of repeats, because I just went, screw it, these are the games I like, so I'm going to continually play them. At least I can see in this one that I'm actually trying out other builds other than just my normal build, which I do think that kind of makes me realize that maybe I'm not nearly as bad as I thought I was. This is when I tried out the Endless Legends 2 demo, definitely giving that game a shot when it comes out. I'm a big fan of Endless Legends just in general. The story with them is always really fun, and I really, really like the factions they've got in it at the moment. Like the weird, like religious, but they have like mechs question mark, because they have like sci-fi backing humans is really interesting and makes humans seem more than just a generic thing. The Broken Lords are always cool. I absolutely adore the Broken Lords, so I can't make any there's nothing wrong with those. And then there's the Coral People, which I haven't tried, but they seem more like diplomacy. So they kind of fit up my alley, so I might actually try them soon. But they're interesting. Borlex Pit was interesting. It was a roguelike that had all of the makings of a game I'd be interested in, but I just don't think the base mechanic of the ball is actually just something I like doing. Like, it's the kind of pinball style, not really. I guess it's more like, I guess like a Space Invaders style, but it's more just that game that I don't really know the name of, where you're knocking a ball and you're breaking blocks and it comes down, you got to keep it going. That I just don't really get into. I just can't really get into those kinds of games. And so I think the bits around the game, like the building of the base, to then harvest the resources, the new characters, the new balls, like all the bits around the base mechanic, I absolutely adore. But I just the base actual mechanic, I don't enjoy as much. Megabunk was interesting. Megabunk had all the makings of a game I would love. And then I just found myself not as interested to go back to it because I didn't find the progression cycle. And I was talking about this a bit with Other Bullet Heavens, where I like the game, but cause my baby brain is like, oh, I'm not getting that dopamine hit um of like unlocking stuff consistently. And so what I found myself doing was not wanting to go back to it because I wasn't unlocking new things, I wasn't unlocking new areas, I wasn't unlocking new characters, and so I kind of just gave up on it. The Zombies Marvel Rivals was really, really fun. I'm a big fan of PvE in those kinds of games. I genuinely think that PvE is just my go-to when it comes to that. It's always been the same with like the Overwatch games and like all kinds of hero shooters where I'm the person repping. It's like even with Darktide, they have a Mortars trial, which is just waves of zombies, and that game's inherently PvE. But like I think generally the hordes defending an area is my kind of thing, and PvE is my kind of thing. I like working together with my friends to fight off enemies, not working with my friends to fight other people or with my friends fighting each other. Well, fighting each other. And so I had a load of fun with that. I think it's gone now, but I got myself, at least with the character I really like, I got the highest difficulty um boss kill, which was quite cool. This game, I will never forget it. I will always keep track of this game, and when this full releases, I'm definitely playing it. Not only is it one based on Greek myth, which is really my kind of thing. Two, a really good quality Pokemon game. Well, demo at the moment, but still. But three, one of the developers came in to my stream of that game, and they talked to me a bit, and they seemed like genuinely good people, and I loved that game. Also, I got a shiny in it. I still haven't gotten rid of this download of this game, by the way, with my shiny, because I can't willingly get rid of a shiny that I gained. This was an interesting game. Pokemon Atlas. I believe I full completed this game. Or at least the demo of this game. I don't have as much of a memory of this game, but I remember the quality, the world looking really good, and I liked the fact that you see a lot with Spanish games, but I think it's coming into general fan games in general, where I like that they add Pokemon in to the towns to make them feel more lived in, and like add let me talk animations that make the world feel more like a world and less just like a background for you to catching battle Pokemon. You can see I've started going into the living worlds at this point here. I I quite liked it. It was such a huge change. I do think season 1 has better, what's the word? Better like dungeons, better story. I definitely think it's better. I can see why I had that one for free. Halls of Torment. I occasionally go back to this game. Interesting aesthetic where the game is kind of like old style Golden Axe, I guess, but it's not that kind of game. It is a bullet heaven. Really, really fun. You unlock stuff a lot as well. This is when we get into the Jingle Jam stuff. God, I love Jingle Jam. Dungeon of the Hindenburg. I like the concept. I haven't really gone back to it, but it's a really, really, really fun game. And Gatekeeper is genuinely just a good game. It's just like a Risk of Rain style game that I genuinely think is very, very good. Overall, about the games we've played, I've genuinely, there hasn't been many misses this time around. I do think that I may have made a mistake trying Pillars of Eternity. Not because the game's bad, but because I genuinely think that it's so long. You know, it's such a long game, and there's so many RPGs that are coming out that, like, I know because immediately I'm going to have to go into a Pillars of Eternity 2 that I'm not going to have any time to actually play on stream. Even though those games would take significantly less time than Pillars of Eternity. But we'll see. I've committed to it, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's just a shame I can't play the other games. You know? I caved and started playing Diablo 4, even though that was on my list of games to play on in that time slot. I don't regret it. It's a great game. Absolutely love that game. Probably what I'm going to play after this. It's either that or a Pokemon fan game. Right, so let's get into now things we learned this year. Genuinely, number one thing I learned it's probably stop taking things seriously. I think there's always a part of me, not to the level of some of my friends, but there's always a part of me where I look at this and I'm like, I'm too committed. I talked about this a bit when we were going through our videos, but my stubbornness is one of my biggest faults. Because what happens is, I'm like, I've committed to this game. I've committed to doing this, and I will continue to do this. And I've been... What's the word? I've been sad that I had to play a game on stream occasionally. Or I've been sad that I've been like, oh, I've committed to this and stuff, and it hasn't borne any fruit. The amount of times this year that I have gone a month without even having a follower, never mind somebody chatting a follower or someone chatting in general, to the point where I've kind of missed the people that would come into the chats and try and sell me stuff. the amount of times that's happened this year has been a lot. And I realized very early, I realized, I don't say very early on, I'd say I realized about the second or third time it happened that I should stop taking it seriously. Stop having these assumptions and these ideas in your head that, oh, I'm going to make it big in this. It's like, that is not the point of this. The point of this is that I am trying to make sure I play games regularly, making sure that I have a form of hobby, because before this I had nothing. And it's generally, and this is a really, I don't know what you call it, like tertiary goal, it's to try and get me out speaking more. Because I have work where I don't really speak. I have my friends where I occasionally talk to them, obviously, but I don't do a lot of speaking in general. And so being able to do this, and also just to get the confidence to actually talk to occasionally random people that come into chat, is something that I just think is generally a good skill for me to get. And so I realized very early on that that was a problem with me. Number two, I'm trying to think of things we've learned, because this is all off the cuff. So if it feels like, oh, he hasn't thought of it, it's because I haven't thought of it yet. I think number one is the one that's been the most obvious for me. What is number two? I don't think I've learned much. Is there anything else I have learned over this year? Because at this point, it could have been something I learned in the first half of the year that maybe has become so knowledgeable, like so ingrained that I don't even think of it as new knowledge anymore. Because that one's a fairly recent one. You know, not taking this as seriously is a fairly recent one. I think one of them is probably to ban abandon something. I think a lot of the time it happened a lot last year and it happened a decent amount this year. Is I will be stuck playing something and I'd be like, I'm not having fun with this, or I've like, this is just obviously not my kind of game, and I've stuck to it. I've stuck to it because I've chosen it, and it's now my everyday. And this happened. The most notable time it happened was with FF14. So I had gotten over Dawntrail, and Dawntrail was great, but I got to the patch quests after the fact, and the patch quests wanted me to have gear levels that effectively required me to start grinding in that game. Because it's trying to, you know, sorry, it's trying to keep you entertained for long enough for the next thing to come out, right? For the next expansion to be made and for the next patch quest to then tide you over until you get to that expansion that's being made. But I realised that that's not the kind of thing I was interested in. I also just didn't think it would be fun to watch. Now that's up in the air, because I definitely think that it might have been interesting to watch. Either way, I I think I stuck to it for a bit too long, and I learned this lesson of just know when I want to abandon something, because if I'm not having fun, then it's going to be obvious to the people watching. That's my logic, and I have seen that occasionally, especially when people are playing like sponsored content, where they're like, "Wow, isn't this interesting? Isn't this good?" And there's like it's quite obvious they're not actually that interested in it, and it's quite not that fun, you know. So I think these are the two big lessons that I've learned over the year. If we're talking about like things we should, I think things that I need to be working on. Let's talk about that. Things I need to be working on. A lot of these are very similar to last year because I don't think I've improved in these aspects. One, be fine with dead air. So, I very much had a lot of last year and, well, all of last year and all of this year. I have this inherent problem of when I am not talking, I'm focusing on the game, I don't have anything to say, I'm panicking. I'm like, oh, this is dead air. This means that I'm not, what's the word? I'm not entertaining. I'm not interesting in any way, you know? And so I very much need to start working on this because when I watch streamers, they're not talking every second of every point. They do have times where they're concentrating on the game and they're not talking. And I don't find that unentertaining. You know, I don't go, oh, that's dead air, I'm not interested, I think I'll go somewhere else kind of thing. I'm just like, that's fine. You know? That's a fine thing to happen. And I think this sort of leads in a bit to the second point, which is I think I just need to be more confident in my general ability. You know? I have a very low impression of my skill, of my just general ability in anything. And I do think that I need to be working on this. Because I genuinely think that there is a. What's the word? I think I'm better than I think I am. And even if I don't, even if I'm not better than I think I am, having the confidence to believe that you are better than you are is probably going to make me slightly better. Right? I think there's logic to that. I think there's something to be gaining for. I think there's something there. But I do think there is one thing that I do that I genuinely think is a problem that I need to work on. And I think it's I need to be less, I guess, contrarian is the best word to put. I don't know how to spell contrarian, but I think that's contrarian. Um, so well, I found that a lot of my looking back on my videos and looking back on specifically the more story related ones, so I'm talking, you know, your Baldur's Gates, your Rogue Traders, your um some of the MMOs, you know, your Final Fantasy 14s, even some of the Guild Wars stuff. I find that my commentary about them is just going like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not right. How about you just do this? You know, commenting of obvious things that people know that they kind of just suspend the disbelief of when they're playing a game. And I don't think that's fun to watch. And in fact, I think that might be a bit detrimental to people watching it because it's like, well, that's not interesting. You're saying an obvious thing that just breaks me out of the immersion of the world. And so I definitely think I need to work on that and to not fall back on that as a crutch because I do feel like I do that a lot. So that's on my list of things that I do need to be working on. I realised that I didn't put... I put a D instead of an S. There. Cool. Sorry about my bad handwriting. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to be working on. I think if we put a word of like stream related, and then if we go for like things I need to work on less stream related, because I think that's a big thing for me. I think generally I have this real big problem of just going, sure, yeah, sure, let's do that. And then I realize after the fact that I just have to then like double back on myself to find a way to actually get that thing to happen. And I haven't really thought through. I've just said yes because it's the way to end the conversation. You know? It's not as bad when I'm messaging people because I have time to think and people aren't expecting an immediate reply. But when I'm doing face-to-face conversation, I think that's a big problem with me. I think I've been trying to solve this, but I need to necessary words in conversation. These are the... When I'm talking unnecessary words, I mean things like the ones that you use to... what's the word? The ones you use to pad out a conversation while you think. You know, I think I want to get rid of these because I definitely think it makes me feel... It makes it seem like what I say is less confident, I guess, is the word. I mean, if I had just said in that previous sentence, if I was like, it makes me seem like I'm less confident, I think even that pause that I put in made it seem less confident. You know, that kind of thing. I think that's something that I need to work on. I definitely think it's something I need to work on. Other than those, though, I think generally, if I'm being nice to myself, which I guess I do need to work on as well, but I think that's not as big of a thing. There's a lot less here that I can immediately think off the top of my head than there was last year. If you had asked me last year, there'd be so many more things on there. And so I'm really happy that it does kind of feel like we have been working through this. And I definitely think that if I talk about unnecessary words, I used to use a lot more back in the day. A lot more half a year ago, especially a lot more like 2 years ago. And I definitely think that I am a lot better this year in terms of being fine with dead air than I was the previous year. And I do think I'm a bit more confident in my ability. I don't think the third one I definitely, the contrarian part of me is still there. And I have gotten better at saying no. I think it's just these are all in the early stages and I just need to work on getting them to the later stages, I guess. For lack of a better word. But yeah, let's stop talking about bad things and let's talk about what things we're looking forward to in the next year. Things to look forward to in 2026. Nope, that was 5 years ago, that one. we've got a decent amount of things to look forward to. Many, many interesting games. But if we're talking stream related to, we are going to try, emphasis on the word try, to multi-stream. I'm going to try and specifically stream to YouTube. My thinking for that is very, very simple. I want to be in a situation where I don't have to spend the next day importing my video over to YouTube. And if I stream to YouTube, not only do I actually feel like it actually kind of, what's the word? I think I'm more likely to get actual viewers on YouTube, which will be good for my psyche. Which always takes a hit whenever I do these things and there's absolutely nobody in the stream, but that's a whole other thing. But I genuinely think that then me being able to save my off days to actually fully do what I want to do and not have to worry about also importing a video I think it'd be huge. Now I've just got to figure out if I can actually do that. You know, that's a big problem with me, is that I don't 100% know if I can actually do that. But I think there's a chance. I think there's a significant chance with that. So we're going to try that. We are also to complete Pillars of Eternity. That's just obvious. It's not going to take us a year, even if we're doing the weekly streams of Pillars of Eternity, to get through Pillars of Eternity. We will make our way through that game. We will find the end. We will succeed in it. And I really look forward to that, because I look forward to the second game. The second game, the reason why I'm looking forward to that game so much is, one, it's pirates. I love pirates. I love the world we're in now, but I love pirates. Two, it's specifically made with a turn-based mode, and I think that will change the way I play significantly. You know how I'm playing on easy in Pillars of Eternity 1? I'm playing not on easy in Pillars of Eternity 2, because that is a game then that I know how to play. I can take my time, I can think through the turns, I can get through them quickly. I look forward to that a lot. Other things to look forward to. First expansion of Guild Wars. Guild will be getting into the paths of probably both of them, but specifically the Path of the Thorn. I'm looking forward to that a lot. That expansion is going to make or break whether I like Guild Wars. I've got the other two expansions, and I probably will still go through them, but it will be the deciding factor of whether the game is like just another MMO in terms of story, or whether it's like actually like I got an interesting like story to it, like a bit more of like a hooking one. It's got the hooks that interest me. Scarlet was a good start to it. Scarlet is a very interesting, a more interesting villain than the generic big bad Zaitan, who was just sort of like he's just a generic demon lord guy who didn't really have a personality to him. I'm hoping they do a bit more with Mordramoth, who seems to be being set up as the main villain. And if not, to have like subordinates of him that have more of a personality. But we'll see. We'll see how they do. I've heard great things about the expansions. The first two. Less from the rest of them. But the first two, without a doubt, everyone that comes into the stream says it's good. Every one of them. So he's hoping for that. What else can we look forward to? We can look forward to what else is coming out. What games can we actually look forward to being played? The problem is that's going to take up most of the that's really what we're going to be playing next year because of how long the games play. You know, Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2 will be the games that we'll be playing. We won't finish Pillars of Eternity 2 this year. There's no way. I'm confident we'll finish 1, but we won't finish 1 and 2. So that's what we'll be playing over the next year. And Guild Wars, we're probably not going to get through 3 expansions in a year. I think it's unlikely at the very least. Plus the living worlds in between them. It's not likely. What else can we look forward to? Monday streams will just be whatever we feel like doing. So I think generally that's what we can look forward to in general. I would like things I'm not 100% sure on. So not 100% sure. But I like to do next year. You know what? No, not in next year. Let's put in 2026. I would love to get us some unique assets. I understand that I am in the sheer minority of the fact that I use entirely free assets and things I've made myself, and it's not insane quality, is it? Let's be honest. It doesn't really have an image. Like, there isn't really an image to it that makes it. By the way, this here, that's my cat sleeping. Tell the time of her life. I love every second of her. But there isn't really an image to me. I have a generic picture as my icon. I have a generic sort of screens, you know, the starting soon screen and the be right back screen. Like, there's a lot of generic stuff to me, right? It's nothing incredibly eye catching. And I've had ideas for what I'd want for them. But it's just that taking that step of going, I'm going to actually purchase anything from somebody and then having to have the conversation and talking with them that I think really puts me off trying this kind of stuff. But I will try. I'd love to get some new stuff. I'd love to have that kind of thing. I don't think I'll take the step that a couple of my friends have done where they go full on and have like go the VTuber route. I just don't think it's for me. I genuinely think that one of the few things I've got for me in terms of comedy comes from looking at my face and my reactions to stuff, and maybe even like me doing physical things. And so I don't think that having a VTuber would benefit me that much. Never mind the technology that I just don't understand in any capacity. But I do think the idea of getting myself a like brand image, like figuring out a like brand image, which sounds a bit uppity of myself, but you know what I mean. It's probably a good idea. I've had ideas for it. I've had genuine ideas for it, but it's hard to commit because it's like a huge commitment to actually go like, this is my image, you know? Because like I've seen so many people that when they were young have gone like, I'm gonna be Charizard man, and they've been like, I really like Pokemon, so I'm gonna go choose Charizard man, and that's gonna be my whole image. And then like they've you know, they've been doing it for freaking 5 years, and they've gone from being in their, late, being like 18 to being 24 or something. And they're not really into that, and they want to try other stuff, and they want to be variety, but they've been called Charizard Man now for so long that that's their image, and they're stuck with it. And then they have to take the long and quite perilous transition from I play a specific thing to I play multiple things. And, some people don't survive that and have to just stop. Either they stop playing or they're done, you know? So it's hard to do. I don't think I'll specialize into one game because I just don't think that's the right thing to do. Because I don't think there is a game I realistically could play for a year on constantly that I like. Never mind several years if it ever actually made it to, ever actually like made it big at doing that kind of thing. But yeah, I think those are the two big things that I would like to do that I don't 100% know if it's going to be happening. I guess technically the multi-stream should also be there because it could just be that my computer can't handle it, and it's going to be a long time before I can spend the money to get myself an upgrade to my computer, if I'm being completely honest. There are other big purchases in my life that will be eclipsing being able to spend a load of money on a computer. Is there anything else that I really want to talk about when it comes to this? I don't think there is generally. I think it shows that maybe it shows a lack of ambition in the fact that there's not that much that I want to talk about, and there's not much I can talk about when it comes to everything generally that we've been talking about. Like this hasn't even hit the 2 hour mark. We're only in the hour 20 minutes, and we've already gone through like three different topics when it comes to this. But I don't think I'll change the amount I stream because I genuinely think that I'm streaming the amount that I want to stream, for lack of a better word. I want to. It was always already a push to be doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so I'm not going to be committing to streaming any more than that. Um, for the next year. I don't think there'll be any major mix-up when it comes to games I'll be playing. It's going to be generally the same in terms of Wednesday's going to be the long-form RPG, Friday's going to be an MMO, and Monday will be whatever we feel like doing. I do think that the only thing there that's going to be major is I probably will be trying to get myself some unique assets that are just for me. I say unique, they'll probably be very similar to other people's ones, but like unique in the sense of like not something that you can get for free. Though I don't know how to do those transitions, where it goes um with anything else. I wonder if I can like rip those from the free thing and use them, like try and change the color of them and then use them for my stream. They've woken up. Oh, are they just moving to get to a different spot? Nope. But yeah, I don't. I'm sorry if this seems like the I'm a bit lost when I'm doing this. I just wanted to generally figure out what's going to be happening. I think looking to 2026, I probably, when it comes to like what I want to get out of it, is I want to make sure that this becomes a fun hobby and not a meaningless piece of extra work that I've given myself. Because I'll be honest, there have been times this year where it's felt like I have to do this because I've got the obligation and not that I want to do this because it's a fun thing to do. You know? And those kinds of situations are things I'm going to try everything I can to physically avoid. And there will be days where it's like that, where I'll get home from work and all I want to do is just sort of sit there and do absolutely nothing. And I know for a fact that if I had continued to do every time that I felt like I didn't want to do this, I didn't do it, I would not have realized that the feel of playing, forcing myself to play a game, and then immediately realizing that why did I need to force myself? You know, what was the point in forcing myself to do this? I didn't need to force my, like, why is this? Why did I need to force myself to do something that's so good? It's sort of what I'm trying to get at. Because immediately I'll play a game, I'll be in stream, I'll get that one person that comes into the into the into the stream to chat with me, and it will feel like I'm on cloud nine. You know, it'll feel like I've done the best thing ever. It'll feel like I've learned something that's so obvious that everybody realizes, but I've never realized it. And as soon as I have, it's changed how I feel because I will realize why I do this. And the greatest thing about being not a big streamer, well, not really having an audience, and then playing a game, is you know the people that are coming into the game are passionate about that game. Like, for example, when I was playing Atomic Crops, a guy came into the chat, obviously loved that game because he'd come into the chat, he had just so much knowledge, he was perfectly fine with giving it away. He didn't feel like he was being mean or angry or anything like that when it comes to it. And it's the same with last year when I played Neverwinter. I have problems with Neverwinter, but it was never the people. The people who come into the chat are genuinely people that want to talk to somebody who loves this game. Right, talk to somebody about this game and try and sing its praises because they've been playing it for so long. It's the same with Guild Wars 2. It's the same with any form of any game I play on Monday that just is not an incredibly popular game. The least popular, the more likely you're going to get those people that come in here to nichely watch it. It's been very, very, very fun. And some of the games that seem like they're coming out next year, some like, for example, the Total War Warhammer, the Total War like Nagash update, all of this stuff, like there seems there's so much prospect for really cool games to be coming out next year, and this year was hit it out of the park. Absolutely hit it out of the park. I mean, Expedition 33 was insanely good. Silk Song was like an incredible game. You know, Hades 2 was apparently very, very good. I've only watched people play that, if I'm being completely honest. Um, but yeah, I'd like to think one of the things that I will do in 2026, it probably won't be streamed. It almost certainly won't be streamed. But I might try and DM this year. Because I do feel genuinely bad that I hassle some of my friends, the other DMs, about doing stuff. Because at the end of the day, I'm just going, hey, can you do a load of work for me? So for me to work in it. Like, it's like hassling a game developer to make get a game that's just for you without paying them, without giving them an incentive. And it feels bad. So maybe I'll try try DMing, but it's the same thing with like the brand image stuff, where it's like committing, you know, committing to making an adventure. I think committing to stuff is a real problem for me because I'm not that kind of person where like I'll just give something a try unless I force myself. And it becomes increasingly it's significantly hard to do when it's like give something a try, when you also have to give an investment of something that isn't just your time. It's not easy to do. Um but we'll see. We'll see. There's so many ideas that I've thought of, like that I would love to give a try, but they've always been like skeletons of ideas or patches of ideas where it's like, oh, wouldn't this be cool? Cool, what's the world like? Oh, I've got no idea, you know? I could always try out a module because I've got everything there then if I've got a module, but who knows? Who knows when it comes to this kind of stuff? I just worry that maybe I'd crash and burn, you know? I'm not very good at thinking stuff on the fly. And so it would be one of those situations where I'd have planned a certain thing and it goes a different way than that certain thing. And then I just get, oh, sorry, I thought I woke up my cat. And then I just get flustered and I wouldn't know what to do, is my worry. But knowing me, I'm overthinking it. You know, I'm completely overthinking it. I just realized in 4 days it's good old Christmas Eve. It is so weird how fast this year has gone. I genuinely am worried about how quick stuff is going. You know, because I'm getting older. You know, like old people will say I'm still young, but I'm not. I'm not really. Let's be honest. Once I hit that 30, like you're an adult then, but I don't feel like I'm close to that. And I don't know if that's a thing that everybody has. You know. But look, I won't be. I don't want to go overly depressing here. We've got lots of things we've got to look forward to. We're going to get through Pillars of Eternity. We're going to destroy it. We're going to get the best ending. We're going to Pillars of Eternity 2. We're going to destroy it, get the best ending. We're going to get through Path. Not get through. We're going to enjoy vastly the first expansion, then the second expansion, then the third expansion. We're going to deal with all those dragons. We're going to get unique assets. We're going to multi-stream. We're going to figure out our brand image. By the way, my ideas at the moment are, I really only have one idea. And what I want to do is oh, that's all gone. I want my opening screen to be a load of grass on a hill, and in the background there's like a wooden, a stone, an old-fashioned sort of stone, you know, uneven like bricks, stone wall. And there's going to be a version of me looking out on it, sitting maybe on a chair. That's my idea. And if I could get it where there's a wind blowing and it's blowing like the grass and stuff, it'd be great. Maybe a couple of sheep. That's what I want for my opening image. And then if for my like starting screen, and then the wind would blow through and it would disappear and it would appear onto my game capture screen. I think that would be cool. I think that'd be really, really cool. If I could get it so that I could have like it not like this and more like there is a box here where the game is. There's a box here where I am. There's a box above me that's where the chat is. I think that would be great. Go for like light greens and browns probably for this. I think it would be really, really nice. But it's whether I can commit to it. You know, it's really, really hard to do. But I won't bore you anymore. I think this is a good review. It's an hour and a half. Hour and a half's fine. We can start. We can end a little earlier. I'm not going to be stubborn and think that I have to do everything to 2 hours. If it makes more sense to end it at hour 30 because you've hit a story beat or something, that's fine. I'm going to call it here. I will see you on Friday for more Guild Wars because we won't be doing the Wednesday one because that is Christmas Eve, but still Christmas. I count Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and Boxing Day as they're all a major holiday. So I will see you all then. I hope you all have a great Christmas or whatever you celebrate. I hope you and I have a nice couple of days. I know I genuinely started talking about a couple of depressing things there, but genuinely I am quite looking forward to this year in terms of the streaming, and I do think I will be committing to this kind of stuff, and it will be quite fun. I genuinely think it will be. See you all.